Welcome back to 52 Moments, where I answer things like,
Why are you like this?
or,
What happened to you?
or even,
Who did you piss off?
as best I can. Along the way, I hope you'll learn more about me. So let's get to it. Welcome back. Today's episode is called Yes, I Am a Wrestling Fan. And despite the fact that pro wrestling generally has this reputation for being very lowbrow or being a guilty pleasure for someone like me who's educated and all that stuff, like, we tend to think that pro wrestling fans are kind of lowest common denominator. That's kind of the reputation that it's come with. And yet, it's basically soap operas. There's big story arcs, there's beautiful storytelling happening in the ring on an ongoing basis. And as these wrestlers meet and match up and they bring their stories with them, it is so much fun. And I think that more people should give it a chance, especially now that you're seeing a lot more of the smaller organizations getting more traction in local areas. I mean, some of them always have had that. Absolutely. Um, but I started watching wrestling back in the 1980s. My favorite wrestler was Roddy Piper. Greatest heel of all time, perhaps. I don't know. That's debatable. Um, and I watched it with my brother. It was one of the few things that he and I agreed on. Was, yeah, we can watch this. We can talk about this. We can sort of have similar people we cheer for and that kind of thing. It was the one sort of sport thing that I indulged in when I was a teen. And in 1988, They Live came out, starring Roddy Piper, and I was like the happiest of campers. I just watched that again last night, which is what prompted me to do this video today. And, got into a bit of a debate on Facebook as to whether it held up or not. And most people think it didn't. But I still think the core story of that film holds up, even if the film itself is kind of, it definitely falls in the cult film category as far as I'm concerned, because there are so many problems or so many things I could tear apart about how slow it is and uneven pacing and plot holes and so on. But I still love the movie because I get to watch Roddy Piper in his peak, his physical peak, being who he is. And I think that's great. And he was Canadian. So, I gotta love the guy. Anyway, wrestling kind of fell off my radar for a while. Largely because when I was married, my partner couldn't stand it. Didn't like the idea, didn't want to see it, hear it, think about it, whatever. That's fine. So I kind of didn't really pay attention, except in the very back of my mind, I was sort of aware of some of the feuds going on. And like I knew The Rock was coming up and John Cena. Like I knew who these people, the big names were, but I sort of lost track of it for a while. After I left my marriage, I somehow fell back into wrestling. I don't know why, but it sort of came back on the radar, and it came back on in a sort of a different way. It was local events like the Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling, and I found another few local Pacific Northwest kind of groups. Lately, I've been going to 365 Pro Wrestling, and they actually run a wrestling training on the island. So, there's there's lots of activity. I watched Glow on Netflix, and if you haven't seen that, it is a wonderful love letter to women wrestling in the 80s. And so it's sort of got the same feeling as what I recalled of the era when I was really watching wrestling. And then, of course, I got into burlesque. And you may not see the connection, but I absolutely assure you that there is not much difference between the character I create for burlesque and the character someone creates for the wrestling ring. Because that's what it is. You are embodying this character for, 4 or 5 minutes, and then you go back to being who you are. And there's a joy in that. There is a local group of women wrestlers as well, or they've expanded it so it's not simply women, so it includes non-binary and whatever, but it's supposed to be sort of just not your average sweaty gym rat kind of wrestling. And I want to be clear, I am so not into like high school grappling kind of wrestling. I don't need to watch guys just kind of fight like that. I need the story. I need the fight. I need the spandex that sparkles. The gimmicks. I love the gimmicks. I think there's a lot that can be said for wrestling. And when I went to the Canadian gathering of the Juggalos, because that's another thing about me. Maybe I'll put that in another another video. But yeah, they bring wrestlers along as well. They had along with the main stage that had the musical acts, they had a ring out in a tent, and you could go and watch wrestling for like a third of the afternoon. And it's just joy. It's just absolute joy to see all of this excitement around you constantly. I kind of love that. And again, that's one of the things that sort of puts it in that lowbrow category. But I am not afraid of lowbrow, and I don't think anyone should be. I think, people revere Shakespeare. Shakespeare was lowbrow as hell. Like, that guy wrote for the masses. All he was doing was churning out, and whether, you can believe what you want about Shakespeare, whether he stole half of those and pasted his name on it or not, doesn't matter. Whatever you think about Shakespeare, he was popular. His name guaranteed, box office gold as far as, getting butts into seats in the theater. Same thing with wrestling. Certain names will bring people in, and they'll get people in those seats, and away you go. So, like, I go to wrestling matches now, and I take photos, and I love the acrobatics. I love the skill. Will I ever go into it? No. This body is not at a point where I could train enough to make it safe for me. Because I will say, wrestling is not fake. The matches are fixed. And that also causes some fun excitement when someone decides midway through a match that they are not going to go down, even though they're supposed to. That's where you get the drama. Anyway, wrestling is real. Real blood is spilled. Real bones are broken. I put myself through enough trauma doing burlesque and drag. I am not willing to go into wrestling. But I will watch it and support it and spread the word about how much I love it. I will watch videos. I recently got a whole bunch of vintage wrestling videos from a friend of mine. And I'm merrily going through these old things. It's kind of like memory lane, with these guys. And I love it. Like, it keeps me, I don't know, it keeps me company. It's like there's a lot of nostalgia to it, but it also is basically storytelling. So if you haven't given wrestling a chance recently, I recommend that you do. Find out what's in your backyard, what's locally doing, and go to local matches. Watch those people before they get to the WWE or ECW or wherever they're headed. Like, if their goal is to be on the main stage, watch them while they're in the little ring. When you can see them up close, when you can see them perfecting those signature moves. And then watch as they change their name, as they evolve into a different type of wrestler, or whether they turn to a heel or whether they're a golden boy or whatever they're doing. Like there's tropes and it's glorious. And I highly recommend it. Go take in a match.